What if I told you there are places on Earth that look like they were deleted on purpose? Not missing, not hidden, straight up erased from maps, like someone doesn't want you to find them. And the crazy part? The more you zoom in, the less anything makes sense. And that's where it gets really disturbing. Alright, number 5. HAARP in Alaska. So out in the middle of nowhere in Alaska, there's this facility that, if you just look it up on Google Maps, honestly, it looks pretty normal. Nothing crazy. But the internet? Yeah, it did what it does best. Some people straight up say it can control the weather, like storms, hurricanes, all of that. Others go even further and say it messes with the atmosphere itself. And then there are people who think it's part of some kind of secret military or science experiment that nobody's really supposed to understand. Now, to be fair, officially, it's just a research site. Nothing hidden, nothing dramatic. But here's the thing. Once a place gets this many theories around it, it stops feeling normal, even if it is. And that's exactly why HAARP is still one of those spots people just can't stop talking about. Alright, number 4. Sandy Island. So for decades, literally for years, there was this island that kept showing up on maps in the Coral Sea. And it wasn't some random sketch or rumor. It had a name. It had exact coordinates. It even appeared on official nautical charts used by sailors. So naturally, nobody really questioned it. It was just accepted as a real place. An island sitting out there in the middle of the ocean. But here's where it gets weird. At some point, scientists decided to actually go and check it, like physically travel to the exact spot where it was supposed to be. And when they arrived, there was nothing. No land, no sandbank, no vegetation, not even a small piece of rock sticking out, just open ocean, as far as you can see. Imagine that for a second. Something that has been printed on maps for decades, just not existing at all in real life. Like the entire world agreed on something that wasn't even there. And obviously, after that, Google Maps eventually removed it. But honestly, that made it even stranger. Because the real question isn't just why was it there, it's how does something like that end up on every map in the world, and no one notices it's not real for years. Alright, number 3. Volkel Air Base in the Netherlands. Now, if you saw this place on Google Maps without knowing its name, you'd probably scroll right past it. Seriously. At first glance, it just looks like a normal military airbase. A few runways, some buildings, aircraft, nothing that really jumps out at you. But then people online started taking a closer look, and that's when things got interesting. Some users noticed that certain areas of the base seemed unusually blurry on satellite images. Not completely hidden, not blacked out, just blurry enough to make people stop and ask, wait, what's going on there? And if there's one thing the internet loves, it's a mystery. So naturally the theories started showing up. Some people think it's completely normal, just a security precaution or a quirk in the imagery. Nothing more than that. But others aren't so sure. They believe there could be something important inside the base that isn't meant to be seen too clearly from above. Now, to be clear, nobody has ever proven anything unusual is happening here. There's no confirmed secret, no leaked evidence, nothing like that. But honestly, that's part of what makes this place so fascinating. Because once people start wondering if something is being hidden, every blurry image starts to feel suspicious. And whether there's actually a mystery here or not, Volkel Air Base has become one of those places that keeps people coming back for another look. Alright, number 2. North Korea. Now this one is weird, because unlike some of the other places on this list, North Korea isn't hidden from Google Maps. You can find it in seconds. You can zoom in, you can look around, and at first, everything seems pretty normal, but the longer you stare at it, the more something starts to feel off. It's hard to put into words. You can see cities, you can see roads, you can see entire regions of the country, but compared to most places on Earth, it just feels empty. almost like you're looking at a version of the map that was never fully finished. And once you notice it, you can't really unsee it. Some roads seem to go nowhere. Some areas have surprisingly little detail, and huge parts of the country just don't feel as mapped out as places you're used to seeing. Now, does that mean something mysterious is going on? Not necessarily, but you already know how the internet works. The second people notice something that looks unusual, the theories start rolling in. Some people think there's nothing strange about it at all. Others are convinced there's more to the story than what we're seeing on the screen. And honestly, that's what makes this one so interesting. Because the mystery isn't really about what's visible, it's about what isn't. It's about looking at a place that millions of people are curious about, and still feeling like you're only seeing part of the picture. And whether that's true or not, that feeling alone has kept people talking about North Korea on Google Maps for years. All right, and finally, number 1, the Arctic mapping mystery. Now, out of everything on this list, this might be the strangest one. Not because anyone found a secret base, not because somebody uncovered a hidden government project, but because nobody can seem to agree on what they're actually looking at. One of the most talked about examples is a place called Jeannette Island, way out in the Arctic. And we're talking about one of the most remote parts of the planet, a place so far from everything that very few people will ever see it with their own eyes. Now here's where things get weird. Depending on which map you look at, the island doesn't always appear the same way. On some maps it's easy to find, on others it looks different, and in some cases the details seem surprisingly inconsistent. Nothing dramatic, nothing that proves a conspiracy, just enough differences to make people stop and ask, wait, why doesn't this match? And honestly, that's all the internet needs. Because once people notice something that doesn't line up perfectly, they start trying to explain it. Maybe it's outdated mapping data, maybe it's satellite coverage, maybe it's just the reality of trying to map one of the harshest and most isolated places on Earth. Those explanations make sense, but for a lot of people, the mystery isn't really about the island itself. It's about the uncertainty, because most of us are used to opening a map and trusting what we see. We assume the world has already been documented, cataloged, mapped, understood. But places like this remind us that the planet is still a lot stranger than we like to think. And maybe that's why stories like this never really go away. So yeah, after all of this, there's no real proof Google Maps is hiding anything. But what is real is how fast we turn tiny gaps into massive stories in our heads. And that's exactly why stuff like this never dies online. If you enjoyed it, drop a like, comment which one freaked you out the most, and hit subscribe for more weird stuff like this.